Welcome to DU Digimon.
Hello and welcome to DU Digimon and welcome to another deck profile. If you're liking this video, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel and ding that notification bell so you're not missing out on the latest content. Apologies if I'm a little bit quiet. It's quite late on the night that I would normally go to locals, but that's okay because I've had to stay at home. My wife unfortunately was a bit unwell, so I couldn't go down to locals, so I decided to use it for some testing purposes for a list that I've been wanting to cook up for a little while, and this is what I call jamming Greymon. We have got jamming and we have got Greymon. Jamming Greymon. Basically, I've been trying to figure out this list for a while, ever since I kind of had the realization that we were getting access to jamming on red cards, because for the longest time I've wanted to put jamming onto BT1 WarGreymon, because essentially if you put jamming on him, nothing happens when he hits into security, and I'll explain why. But I've been testing this list out a lot over the course of this evening. I even ran into B-Boy Stunner, which was quite cool. He just out of the blue saw me LFGing, hit me up for a match, and we had a couple of games. Did I win against him? No. But Greymon Vanilla possibly still better than jamming Greymon, but it was really cool to play with him, and apologies I had to duck out, dude. My daughter gets growing pains sometimes at night, so I had to run off and go give her some medicine. But yeah, anyways, this is the list I've come up with. I've been tweaking it. It's pretty cool. I think it could probably do with some further improvements, but this is as far as my brain can take it right now. So I thought I'd share it with you guys, see what you guys think. Maybe you guys can come up with some random ideas for it as well. But starting with the eggs, we've got the Koromon just for the draw whenever we're going in with security, especially with our kind of earlier bodies. We get a draw whenever we're removing something, so long as it wasn't an option that deleted us off the board or something like that, we're all good. Then into our rookies, we've got 4 of the Ukomon. This is just here to help us search our Digimon and our Tamers generically, which is quite nice, and obviously gives us the hatch from the egg on the eggs as well. Then we've also got 3 copies of Penguinmon and 3 copies of Tinkermon. Now these two do the exact same job until they're your turn effects, so they make the 2 color Digimons on top of Digimon or Tamers cost 1 less, which is really cool. And then both of them give a keyword. The Penguinmon gives jamming, the Tinkermon gives piercing, which actually both are very, very useful in this deck, because just because we've got jamming does not mean we can't be blocked. So by having the piercing, we can sometimes get past some kind of early game blockers. So really cool. Then going into our level 4s, we've got 4 of the ST1 Greymon. This is just in here to give us security attack +1. And then we've also got the 4 Korikakumon. So this is quite expensive to go into, which is why the your turn effects of these two can come in quite handy. On top of a Tamer or a Digimon, it costs 4. I did try and see if we could get Tommy in this to make it a little bit cheaper, but Tommy just does not have a relevant effect unless it's in a hybrid deck. And the blue one obviously is less searchable, and it just didn't really do much. So, but we've gone for it with this one. We've also can get jamming from our Penguinmon as well, and we've got other ways of being able to cheat this under us as well. Then I've also got 2 copies of the Kumamon. This is just in here as a backup hybrid. Can do some trashing shenanigans, can go evolve cheaper into the Korikakumon, and can potentially play out some of our other Digimon with Tamer effects, which we've got 1 Tamer with inheritable effects, granted, but you know, it's quite important to the deck still. Then in terms of our level 5s, I've got 2 copies of Skullmeramon from BT15. Now this I've mainly put in here as a backup level 5, because it does a similar job to our main game plan, but for a lot cheaper. Gives itself security attack +1 by paying 2 cost. Also, the fact is I originally came up with this list with either Skull Greymon or the main reason I've done this list in mind, so I wanted to put him in. I have thought about possibly taking him out, putting in maybe a level 5 that has like a security attack +1 inheritable or something like that. I think that could be probably better, but for the time being Skullmeramon is in here, but I might change it up with something like I think it is, I can't remember exactly what it is called, but it's like the big red dinosaur with security attack +1 that only costs 3, and there's like Volcanomon. I'll put him on screen as well. He's like the DJ Volcano dude. I can't remember his exact name, but they might be better choices than the Skullmeramon, but at the moment my Skullmeramon is in there for DU Digimon specific memes. So if you want to know what those memes are, if you're new to the channel, make sure to check out the Masochist series that I started a little while ago, that unfortunately I put a pause on because it did not get enough likes to continue, but I would like to continue that at some point because I really liked it. Then we've got 4 of the Chimeramon. This is in here to help us get the stuff we need in our stack. So what's great about him is obviously DNA's between our level 4s. So what you want to be doing with the Chimeramon in this build is you can have your Tinkermon or Penguinmon hiding in the back, push them forward, use their your turn effects to go into one of your hybrids for cheaper, then go on top of one of these two with the Greymon, and then DNA into Chimeramon. Then you're getting a white, green, red, and blue Digimon, so you're activating the 4000 DP on each, or on up to 4 of your opponent's Digimon, and because you're 4 or more colours, you get 4000 DP on this. You also get the security attack +1 from the Greymon, and jamming as well, which comes in really handy. Obviously because it's red as well, then it can get some additional security attack +1 depending on if you've got the right Tamer out. But ultimately he's not really the star of the show. The reason he's here is to help us have the stack we need so we can go into our 4 copies of BT1, yes, 1 from the very first set, WarGreymon. Now what's really cool about this WarGreymon, and ever since I saw him I was like, oh man, he needs jamming. He needs jamming. When digivolving, gains security attack +1, so he doesn't retain that. It's just on the turn he digivolves. And then your turn effect, this Digimon doesn't activate security skills on option cards it checks. So that, plus the jamming, means that the only effects that activate in security are going to be your Tamers, and then specifically your security Digimon effects. So there are going to be some effects that can kind of cuck this over. So for example, if you're going up against Armor, for example, and they've got Magnamon in there, then the Digivolve can kind of screw you over. But this still massively limits how much security will actually hurt you, and it's great. You know, it gets the security attack +1 in itself. It's got it underneath it as well from the Greymon, and it can have it from the Tamers, and you know, this can get up to 5 checks in a single turn. With the way we've built this, possibly would be easier to do if we if we take out the Chimeramon and put in a security inheritable level 5, But I mean, the other thing you could also do with this deck is to just kind of fine tune it, take out the Chimeramons, and also put in the security attack +1 level 5s, and do things a different way. So instead of doing your DNA plays, you gain your jamming through one of our options, which we do also play in this, but could be something to explore with. But that's WarGreymon. Then we've also got 2 copies of Blitz Omni. I'm actually tempted to bump this up to 3, just because obviously we can't search him that well. We could potentially draw into him, and we could potentially search him with the Ukomon, but that's about it. And he is basically a wing con, because once WarGreymon's done all of our checks, we want to slap down Omnimon so we can get the OTK. So I'm definitely thinking of perhaps bumping him up to make him easier to bump into. But at the same time, this is kind of an early aggro rush deck in a way. It can, well, at least very well, it can act like that. So if you do lose your main stack, so long as you're still at a point in the game where you can recover later on, I found that tends to work. I actually was testing against a red hybrid player, who fortunately kept bricking on Susanoo and Ace. But essentially what I was able to do was, after I'd done all of my checks, I managed to survive a turn more. He'd stopped one of my my rookie from suspending, but I was just like, okay, I've got enough memory, hybrid for game. So you can use the hybrids for game still. It's kind of why the Kumamon's in here as a cheaper option potentially. I mean, what you could do is potentially take out the Kumamon as well and maybe put in an even cheaper red hybrid, like one of the older Goonimons, or I think it's Grumblemon is only cost 2. But the issue you get there is, and you can't digivolve on top of it with a Korikakumon, which it can come up. Then going into the Tamers, we've got 2 copies of the Tai from BT1, just all the old techs in this deck. So it sets you to 3, gives you security attack +1 on all of your red Digimon with 4 or more Digivolution cards, which even if we're just attacking him with a level 5, can be the case. So Chimeramon, for example, once you've DNA'd, it will have 4 or more. The Skullmaramon, if we've used one of our options, can have 4 or more. So can definitely be there. Then we've also got the Takuya. So this takes a little bit of inspiration from the Skull Hybrid build that I played in Jank Tank 6, which, if you've not watched that, I won't spoil the result, but technically the result's kind of spoiled on the channel already. You can use this to gain memory at the start of the turn, and then obviously he's got the piercing, so he's an additional source of piercing in the deck along with the Tinkermon. Also gives 2000 DP as well, so it helps you kind of get bigger in case they've got big blockers, in case they want to try and block you. Speaking of blocking, I did try and put in speed plugin as a tech into this, but I just found it didn't come up, so I ended up taking it out because it gives you jamming, but we had jamming all the time anyway, and it does make you undirectable, which definitely could come up, but there was one specific matchup where I wanted it, and it was against Royal Knights, but it came up nowhere else. Then going into the options, we've got quite a few. The first one is Rowdy Rocker. We've got 2 copies of this. So this is the other thing that you can use to kind of get the right stuff underneath you. So if you don't have your piercing, you can use this to put piercing underneath you. If you don't have your jamming, you can use this to get jamming underneath you, all for only 2 cost, because all of our jamming and piercing inheritables, except obviously from Takuya, because it's a Tamer, are on level 4 or lower Digimon. If you need an extra security attack +1 as well, stick a Greymon underneath. Why not? You know, it works really well, and also gives you an additional draw 2 as well, so it helps you draw into more things. If you use it, you might be able to draw into your Omnimon, you might be able to do that kind of stuff. Really cool card, absolutely love it. Also, we've got Fireball on the kind of same instance of draw 2. You could very well take this out for, I can't remember the exact name off the top of my head, but it's like a Shoutmon card that gives security attack +1 to one of your Shoutmons, or draw 2 if you don't. So it's pretty much always guaranteed to go off, whereas this, it will either delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 3000 DP or less, or if an opponent's Digimon was deleted by this effect, draw 2. But actually, I quite like the fact that this won't always go off, specifically because this deck is very dependent on gaining memory through its memory boosts and reducing costs. So if they've got any floodgates out, you can use the Fireball to pop their floodgate, which can be really helpful because we don't really have any other ways of control. It's my first red list in a while that doesn't have Crimson Blaze, for example, which is kind of madness, but in terms of this is mainly a consistency build, so we need every card in the deck to help us with consistency, whether that be consistency of our actual card draw or consistency of our aggro. And Fireball definitely falls into that former category, whilst also having a slight control element. Then we've also got 3 copies of Red Memory Boost, reveal top 4, add 1 red Digimon card from them, and has the delay effect of gaining 2 memory, so can come up a lot, is one of our main searchers, helps us grab what we need. Obviously we do have a few cards in this deck which are not red Digimon, so the Ukamon, the Chimeramon, and the Omnimon, all of which are, very important to the deck. Ukamon not so much once you get into the mid and late game. These two very much so in the mid and late game. But unfortunately that's just the way it is. Unfortunately we don't have a card that goes, can I search a red, white or blue Digimon? We don't have that. So, we have to use these red memory boosts for the time being. Could be replaced by the Garnet memory boost, because that can search red and blue, but obviously technically everything in this is red anyway, so it really doesn't matter, and this does pull deeper than that card will. Is it the Garnet memory boost? I can't remember. I'll pop it up on screen. Anything that I have said so far that I've forgotten the name of, all will be popped up on screen. Because it's late at night. I'm a dad. I don't remember shit. Next, going into our penultimate card, we've got Offense Training at 3 copies as well. Obviously we could have these at 4 copies, but I actually only own 3 Offense Training, I know, as someone who plays so much red, and I figured having stuff like the Rowdy Rocker and the Fireballs would be good, and they've been working out pretty well so far. But the Offense Training will reveal top 2 and then can also reduce the Digivolution of a red Digimon card by 2, and it has to be going into a Digimon. So if you're Digivolving on top of a Tamer, you can't do that. So what is ideal is, again, with that combo earlier that I spoke about, where you're using one of these to move out and reduce the cost of one of your Tamer Digivolutions, you can do that and then use the Offense Training to go into your Greymon for free, so you can then DNA and then go into WarGreymon. So if you've got if you've got 3 memory spare, which is a lot when your hybrids cost 2 and 3 with this reduction. So you've got a lot of setup to do in this deck. You've got a lot of stuff to do. You've got to move as quickly as you can whilst getting as much setup as you can. And then the last card we've got is Lightning Joust. This just gives us an additional security attack +1 and the 2000 DP if we need it. The security attack +1 is only if you've got less security than your opponent. Or less than an equal, I should say. So obviously if you've got the security advantage, you can't really use this, which does make it a kind of more flexible spot in this deck, and could be something maybe to take out if you know, so like for example, I was thinking of increasing the level 5 line, because I did find that one time was a bit of an issue, and if you were to get rid of this, and like I was kind of saying, possibly getting rid of the Skull Meramon, you could get rid of Skull Meramon, get rid of Lightning Joust, and just put in 4 copies of a level 5 that's got a security tap +1 inheritable. Easily done. And then if you do manage to do the full Chimeramon combo, that can get that security tap +1 underneath you if it's in the trash, for example. Obviously we've got no ways of actively putting stuff in the trash with this. I did try at one point to do that with Analog Youths, but it just never happened. It never kind of surmised into anything. But the fact is, by the time you know you've gotten where you need to be, you've probably lost some security anyway, so that combo can still potentially happen. But anyways, that is the deck, guys. Let me know what you guys think. This is very much a kind of a janky way of using these cards. A lot of these cards I don't think were intended to be together, but they do kind of work. And I think it's a really fun deck. And do you know what? Something I've kind of learned over the last couple of months. I kind of just want to try and do more decks where I'm just like, they're janky as fuck and fun as fuck, and not necessarily meta stuff. Because if I try and learn every single meta deck, I'm in for a bad time, because I can't own every meta deck, I can't playtest every meta deck, I don't have the time, and yes, I've got the others in the team to help us out, but you know, we're all adults, we've all got our own lives. Sometimes you know, those kind of things can get in the way. So if you're going to see lists from me, they're not always going to be meta. Sometimes it's going to be shit like this, and you're just going to have to deal with it. But I hope you guys like it. Like and subscribe, and ding that notification bell if you want any more of these kind of weirder builds, and indeed any other builds on the channel. And let me know if you guys want to see any gameplay of this as well. I'm really hoping that DCGO update will be available soon, because Project Drassel is I'm getting more and more used to, but I just prefer DCGO. I would love to play this on there. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, guys. Comment down below if you've got any ideas for the deck on how to improve it, or indeed if there's any other kind of weird combos you want to see from the Special Booster 2.0 cards. And we will see you on the next video on Monday. But until then, keep it digital.